strikes me as a place that might have been here before the railway arrived. The railway comes through, I think, in the late 1800s.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these towns were, because, you know, this was reasonably productive farming country at that stage, and people had moved out, you know, this far and further. So do you want to write down stock at, what is it, 831 and 55, 832. It'd be great to see some of these things reopen. Well, look at this, that looks like it's about to be reopened, or it's... Love a train station.
Yep.
And see, another 23 kilometres.
Yep. Look at those, very flash.
Yeah.
Very painted them.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, Labor's talking about building locos in Australia.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people are critical of it. But my understanding is we're on the verge of having to replace a shitload of locos.
Well, I suspect that, yeah, it's true. The question you got to ask yourself is, what's the world market like?
Yeah.
So...
But what I mean is, if Australia needs a whole heap of locomotives,
yes,
and you can build them here,
yes,
that's not a bad thing.
no. So, and you might need to.
And the reality is, Australia's potentially a big enough bed that you'll be able to export from that point. But
I'd be wary of that, considering that India builds them, China builds them, America builds them. We have a somewhat restricted loading gauge in some places.
Yeah.
There's lots of American locos here at the moment, little ones.
yeah,
Relatively little ones. Quite a lot of American rolling stock.
Yeah.
Because they're just imported by the boatload. So when I hear that, I go, all right, so you're going to build locos here. Is that to pay off a union, or is it because there is actually a reasonable business case for doing it?
well, again, that's going to be part of the dialogue, isn't it? Because you're right, it could be about creating work that goes to a union group. But then what we shouldn't be doing is what we do here at the moment, which is we buy stuff and just run it to the ground. Because my understanding is we're on the verge of really needing pretty serious upgrade of our rolling stock.
Well, one of the questions I would be asking is why?
Because
You privatised all this shit.
yeah, but that's exactly what happens, isn't it? So when the
Okay.
government owned it all, when it was government
And
owned,
the government did that too.
yeah, I know. But what I mean is they did that with a view that they were getting out of it. But their assumption, I suspect, was that private companies would actually...
They did it before.
Yeah, I know. It's a never-ending circle, Clyde. It's
One of the reasons why, Manura and Canberra,
yeah,
they had those Alco diesels. And
Yeah.
I read an article in an American Trains magazine about the last Alcos in the world in Australia.
yeah,
You've always got to be careful with some of this stuff. You say, well, they're old, yeah, but what have they done? America runs some very old stuff. I think they've got a Baldwin diesel that's about 90 years old.
yeah,
Only one of them.
yeah.
But still, I listen to that stuff and go, okay, so this is building this stuff in Australia is sort of like what the Labor Party thought about. But could we move on and actually tell me what the problem is?